Hi, I'm Martha Krejci, and you're listening to the Head Smack podcast.
You are listening to conversations with misfits, mavericks, and trailblazers.
Hey, welcome to the Head Smack podcast. My name is Paul Pavoni, and I'm excited to have Martha Krejci with me. She went from tech executive to helping local business owners. Martha leads a digital agency and coaching company focused on real strategy, real systems, and real results for local and online entrepreneurs. How you doing, Martha? Good to have you on.
Oh, I'm living the dream. So nice to be here. Thank you.
So, I appreciate you coming on, and I look forward to all the things that we're going to be chatting about today. And usually what I like to do is I like to start off the episode with you just sharing a little bit about your backstory, a little bit about your origin story. So tell me about Martha and where you got your start from, and you can go as far back as you want.
Yeah. Well, shoot. Don't tell me I can go as far back as I want. I'm just going to go back to when I was in the corporate space from there forward. There's a whole lot of pre-story to that, but man, I don't know if we have enough time. So the corporate part of it all, you know what? I'm going to back up just a smidgen past that just because. So I went to one semester of college. We're going to start at college, or the not college that happened. So I did one semester of college, and that's how I knew I didn't want to go to college. That's like, I feel like there's those of us in this world today walking around that are like, I didn't graduate college, so like maybe I don't get to amount to anything in my life. And the reality is that like you can go to the University of Google these days, as long as you're not trying to do like brain surgery or something like that, which you should have some sort of, diploma
Right.
for, right? Some sort of certification. But aside from that, really the stuff that you pick up along the way, it really certifies you to be able to do a whole lot in this world. And so I was in the restaurant hospitality industry for like 14 years. And I think that a lot of people, whenever they come from the restaurant industry or hospitality in general, it's a weird place to be. There's a lot of folks there. But it's a weird place to be because you feel like you have to be a lifer, or you feel like sort of your life has passed you by and you didn't pick up on those prime years of developing skill sets that now are making people profitable or building these companies and stuff like that, that you feel like you missed that somehow. And that might not be everybody, but it is some people. It certainly was how I felt. Yeah. And so I was in that for 14 years. So I was server, bartender, manager, kind of all of it, right? And another thing is that whenever you come from the hospitality space, you actually, if people really double down on it, they can become the best business owners ever. And that's because you learn to anticipate people's needs in some high stakes situations. It doesn't feel like it doesn't feel high stakes just because somebody's hungry, but I mean, when somebody's hungry, that's kind of the worst you're ever going to get out of them, right? Is like extreme pain or hunger. But if you can keep them happy and like set expectations, mitigate that sort of like the situation, the reality of what's happening around them, if you can mitigate that stuff, then you just become an amazing business owner, just by anticipating what people need naturally. Like it just becomes something you do naturally. Good. Yeah. And so, there came a day when I realized that I was okay. So I was working in restaurants and I was like, okay, I can't do this forever and ever. Amen. I was in like late 20s at that point, which is already, you're kind of becoming a dinosaur already in the restaurant world. And they're like, look at that old lady. And then they were talking about me. And so what I did was I was like, well, shoot, I'm going to get a big girl job. But remember, I don't have a college diploma. I mean, I don't even have any college, I have a semester.
Yeah.
And I didn't have any skill sets, like I didn't have anything that I had developed along the way. And so I got my big girl job as an entry level employee at GoDaddy. And it was, this is back when I lived in Iowa, Midwest born and raised, right? And uh, they had just opened up a center there, and I started as just on the phones and whatever. Anyway, what I did with that GoDaddy opportunity was I soaked it up for everything that it was. So, in the name of service, right? So, I would talk to people on the phone. I was the person that you would get on the call, right? And you'd be like, gosh, I don't know that she knows what she's talking about. She didn't really know what she was talking about, but she would put you on hold, right, for 5 minutes, and she'd go find out what you were talking about. Like every call was
Yeah.
different. Everybody's problem was different. And instead of trying to just pawn people off, you know how that feels when you call in and you're like, I'm pretty sure I didn't get the right answer. I'm pretty sure they're putting me off and I'm gonna have to call back again later. Like,
Yeah.
unfortunately, it's
Yeah.
kind of the norm these days. Like, ugh, but it's true. And so anyway, I was that girl that you would reach, but I would not pawn people off. Instead, I would really truly try to figure out what was going on with their situation and try to help them out. And so in that, that's how I ended up learning bits and pieces of digital marketing and what would work and what wouldn't work. And there was within the context of what GoDaddy offered as tools, but then there was also the outside context of, okay, but you're using this against this, or you're using this with this. How do these work together? Are they working together? And it's just kind of, just a big puzzle in my head of trying to
Right.
figure
You're
out.
paying attention. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. And so, just because of that, I just moved up through the ranks, and I moved up relatively quickly. And within 5 years, I'm in, leadership, and I think I'm going to be a lifer there. I think I'm going to be there forever. I loved my job. I loved what I did, like all of the things. But then one day, this is where like everything changed. One day I got a video, like I can imagine it right now. So I got like a video of how, first of all, my husband doesn't usually text me. We talk whenever I get home, and so not only did he text me while I was at work, but it was a video, and I was like, what is going on right now? But you know how you see that the first still shot, the
Right.
first,
Right.
yeah, of what the video is going to be. And it was our baby on her feet, unassisted. And
Oh,
before I
wow.
even pushed play, I was like, I have missed it. And it was the thing that nothing prepares you for that. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like,
Wow. Yeah.
it was a gut punch. It was, this previous seconds before that video came in, I was a happy camper. I was totally good. I was
Yeah.
good to go. That came in. I went into a massive panic attack. My left arm went numb. I tasted metal in my mouth. My hearing went into tunnel here.
Wow.
Like I had I'm like, am I dying right now? Like now is not the time. I need to focus on this other thing that just happened. And so,
Yeah.
in that moment, it was just it's like not a right or wrong situation. It was just, are you okay with this? Are you okay
Right.
with
Right.
missing this stuff? And I hate for anybody to ever think that like I'm judging them for working while they're kids, whatever. It's, are you okay with it?
But
It's
for
up to
you,
you.
that was a moment. Yeah.
For me, it was just, it floored me. But on paper, I had to stay where I was because, I we had just bought this really expensive house. My in-laws had just moved in with us because my father-in-law had lost his job in his 70s. You don't go get a new job. And so we bought this expensive house that had two kitchens, kind of two living spaces for families so we could coexist there easily. And I held the insurance on the family. I had already brought my husband home from work because I made enough at GoDaddy. I made a good amount at GoDaddy. And so I already brought him home, which is why he was taking the video of Nora taking her first steps. And so I'm essentially the main breadwinner for two families. And so,
Wow.
yeah. And so for that to happen, I could have gone one of two ways. And I think about it a lot these days. I really could have gone two ways. I could have been like, well, suck it up, Martha. This is, I mean, you're the one doing this. You got to go like this. They're all depending on you. So you've got to stay. But then there's the other road where it's, they're all depending on you. You've got to go. Right. Like
Wow.
that's where I
Wow. Yeah. That's
was.
quite a head
It,
smack moment. Yeah.
yeah. It was like, you've got to do something. You've got to, you do not continue to miss these things. Go figure out a way to do something. And so I said, I didn't have any sick time because as a mom in corporate America, you don't, because you use it. Every time your 2.14 hours drops, you use it for something, for a doctor's appointment or something. And, uh,
Yeah.
and so I was sitting there at my desk until the end of my day, uh, plotting my escape. I was
Wow.
like,
Yeah. Yeah.
here's what I was like, here's what I could do. I found out, just via just working at GoDaddy, I discovered over time that I have a strange understanding of SEO, and I'm just naturally very good at answering for what Google wants, right? Like I'm just naturally good
Yeah.
at it. And so I was like, well, I know that that is something people like. And then I'm like, well, okay, I'm going to start an agency. And I don't know who goes from zero to agency. I did. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
but yeah, that's what I did is I started an SEO agency, which quickly turned into a boutique agency because that's what agencies do. And
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, that's kind of like the origin story. And then that was February of 2016. And then here we are
Wow.
today in just a
Wow.
wild turn of events.
I remember having one of those moments too. I was self-employed, working from home, working a lot of hours, trying to launch a business from zero. I just left a pretty stable job that people, it was their first job and they retired from that job. Like that place held their employees, there was security. And so here I am launching my own business. And I remember at one point my son came in. He was still small, maybe three years old or so. And he had like moon boots on. He had like a little cape on. He had his little pull-ups on, and he climbed up in my lap, stood on my knees. I grabbed my face and said, "Daddy, play with me." And I
Oh,
was like, oh man, here I am working all these hours, and my son is just like, "Daddy, I just need your attention for a minute." And so for me, that was a moment, and for me, it wasn't as a radical of a change as it was for you. But for you, it was a moment. And for me, it was a moment. And there are other people that have those moments and they're just not able to do something, or they're okay with it. They're like, that's
yeah.
just the way things are. But for you, it led you to a pretty radical change of life, starting this agency from scratch, doing SEO. And so what was next? Like, what was that like? Did you like quit a week later, a day later, a month later, like, and then
The
just go
next
cold
day,
turkey the
I
next
quit the
day?
next day. I couldn't even go back. I couldn't go back. I
Yeah.
and the thing is GoDaddy still loves me and I'm so thankful for that because they could be like, you did us dirty. But they weren't like that. They've sponsored events of mine fully, like fully paid for every single person's ticket to come to an event of mine before. Like they've really taken great care of
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I quit the next day. So I went home because I did tell my husband about this, right? I did tell him I wanted to quit my job. And so my
Yeah.
husband
And it's your
is,
fault. You sent me the video. Yeah.
it's pretty much, yes. Yeah. My husband is, the way I describe him, and I think he's best described this way, is that he holds the string to my balloon, right? So like, I'm like woo, let's do it, let's go. And he's like, yeah, but okay, we've got
Yeah.
bills, we've
Yeah.
got this, we've got that. And typically those people marry each other. And
Right.
so, that's who he is to me. And so I knew in driving home, I was like, okay, I'm going to have to conditional logic this out. I know that there's potentially going to be an argument. I mean, there's going to be, there's going to be at least
Right.
questions
Right. Yeah.
asked. And so I need to be
Yeah.
able
A
to
heated
answer for,
discussion.
yeah, there's, I need to be able to answer for, any questions that he would ask. And so I'm like, okay, if he says this, I'm going to say this. If he says this, I'm going to say, and I had it all worked out. all the way home. I get home, I walk upstairs, put down my purse and my keys, and then I walk over to him and I'm like, I I was like, I can't do this. I can't do this. Like I have to quit my job. And I have to. And I had already decided, remember, I had already planned for the solution. I'm never problem oriented. I'm always solution oriented. So I was like, okay, here's the problem. Now we move away from it. And how do we do that?
Right.
And
Right.
so by the time I got home, I knew what I was going to do. And,
Right. Right.
and so I got there and I told him, I was like, I have to quit my job. I can't miss this stuff anymore. And, or again, and, and this is what I'm going to do. And I'll make an SEO agency. And instead of, so, I mean, it would have been very normal for him to just hyperventilate. That would have been a normal response.
Yeah.
Um, but instead, or just fall off his chair or something. But instead, what he did, and it's the weirdest thing, and it is what has caused the trajectory of everything else that has happened in our world. He looked at me and he said, Martha, if you don't do this, you're not only doing yourself, but everybody else around you a disservice. And
Wow.
I was like, that's not him. Like, that is not him, you know? And so
Yeah.
when you
Yeah.
hear something else coming through the face of your husband, you realize it's bigger than you even thought. And
Right.
so I was like, okay, stunned. Okay. Um, and then I started, working it out. Started the very first thing that I did in my business, well, besides getting a desk, I thought I needed a desk. Right? Isn't it silly what people think they need
Yeah.
when they start their business? Obviously I need a desk. And now I work on the couch, like what I don't need a desk. I don't even sit at the only reason I ever sit at my desk is to do videos. Literally. I'm working
Yeah.
like on the couch all the time. Um, but yeah, so I got a desk, put it together, put the drawers in backwards. I shouldn't be somebody putting together a desk, first of all. But then my very first thing that I did to start actually getting clients was I joined the local chamber of commerce, and I still work with chamber of commerces all the time. I'm doing trainings for them all the time now because I love them. Uh, but the local chamber of commerce in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, represent. And I started doing trainings. So I was fresh out of GoDaddy, fresh within the week. Started doing
Yeah.
SEO trainings. I had 7 people show up to my very first SEO training of how do you do this, local SEO. And the entire room signed up for me to do it for them. Right. And so
Wow.
I
Wow.
made within that first month, I made the same amount of money that I was making at GoDaddy. So it was an even Steven month. And then the rest has been, I mean, it's not that the rest has been smooth sailing. I'm not saying that, but the experience was, you jump out of the window and you build your wings on the way down, or you build your parachute on the way down or whatever. That happened real quickly. The parachute happened really quickly, and not
Wow.
everything
Yeah.
is, perfect or anything, but it's certainly, you realize that whenever you make yourself, whenever you are truly surrendered, that things have a way of working themselves out. So
Yeah, that's amazing. And so, how has your business, since that initial, launching, building the parachute overnight almost,
yeah.
how has your business evolved since then? What to what you're doing now?
Yeah. So within a couple of years, the agency life for me, and I still have an agency side of things, but the agency, I don't run it as much, right? It's my team does things how I tell them to do it, but I don't handle that side of it much. The agency side of things that I was running myself at that point had become kind of like a leash on me more than I was comfortable with. So I remember it was about a year or so, actually, year and a half into having the agency, and we took our daughter to Disney World, and we had never been. Obviously, Nora had never been. I had never been, my parents always
Yeah.
promised it to me, but we never got down there because we just didn't have a lot of money and stuff. And so whenever we went down there, I was trying to enjoy myself, but I just kept getting the doggone emails, right? The emails,
Right,
the
right.
messages, I want this updated and da da da. And I'm like, is there
This is
nothing
not
to
vacation. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And I am the way that my brain works because I'm so go, go, go and solution oriented. I can't leave things undone. And that's like, it's a blessing and a curse, right? Because
Right,
like
right.
it also is it gets problematic if I allow it to. And at Disney World, I allowed it to. I had my computer open, doing things. Hang on just a second. Let me get this. And it was just like, Martha, just say you're out of the office and that they can, wait until next week or whatever. But that is what sort of gave me that push, that squeeze point. You get these squeeze points whenever it's time to move on or do something else. I've noticed for me anyway. Um, I got the squeeze point of what else is there for you, what else can you do in this digital space? And I was like, well, I know how to do all of these things because I was doing really well for my clients and getting them visibility and growing their businesses and all of the stuff. And I'm like, well, I know how to do these things. I wonder if I could do it for me. What do I have to say? Like, what is my
Wow,
thing
yeah.
that I want to help the world do, right? And so whenever I
Yeah.
did that, that's where things really took off, is whenever I started teaching people how to do it. Um, and then yeah, so it's like we have the teaching portion of it, and then we have the agency that does it for people and so on and so forth, but it's all via organic content. So that's the thing, is we want to catch people in their quiet moments, their moments of reflection, and their moments of research, which most people are doing these days, right? I want when somebody to researches something regarding, what anybody is doing, I want them to find my clients or my students and be like, oh, this is exactly what I was looking for, and then grab on and then,
Yeah,
do it
yeah.
right. So
Yeah, it's quite a pivot point, and it's similar to mine because I was already working from home, but I didn't have the right balance, and so
yeah,
that was kind of the point that you hit where you didn't have the right balance. You're at Disney World, but still feeling so attached
yeah,
to work that it really wasn't a vacation, and you weren't giving 100% to your family in that moment. So it's
right.
quite a, like you said, a squeeze point, a head smack, a pivot point for you. And so now you're teaching people to do SEO for other companies? Is that the gist of it,
Oh
or is it?
no. Mm-mm. I was teaching them to do like a kind of all inclusive digital marketing. I did like a weird
Oh,
thing,
okay.
but it was all of the sort of like personal brand of it all. It's how you make your business run like a personal brand, because most businesses actually still need that as their I don't know, as their structure or their blueprint. They still need that personal brand um, vibe, I guess, or structure. And so I was teaching them how to be able to do that. And then whenever I focused in, because that was like for businesses and that sort of thing, then whenever I focused in on families, that's where I was like, ooh, this is it. Because what I did is I went back to who I was in,
Yeah,
at GoDaddy, experiencing the things that I experienced. And I'm like, if I can help that mom or that dad who's in that right now, if I can help them be able to create income from home via, there's many different income streams, there's many different potentials, but the marketing around it looks similar when you use an organic model, right? And so I was like, if I can teach them to be able to create income from home, then more parents get to be home actually raising their kids. And what I anchor that in with is when we look at the trajectory of anxiety and depression in our kids, and sort of the hockey stick moment that is having right now. um I believe we can trace that back to long enough on the timeline. I believe that we can trace that back to us not being around, us not being able to be around. And mom and dad, and it's no shade to mom and dad, because they can't afford things. They can't make ends meet. They have to work a lot to be able to
Right,
make it
right,
happen in today's economy. But what if they could figure out that there's a different way? And that is where everything just completely blew up. And that's where I just get to live in ministry, and I get to live on mission. Like that's my everyday now. So people are like, "Aren't you a marketer?" I'm like, "I am, but I work with
right.
families. Like I'm
Yeah.
kind of like nobody else really gets me these days. I'm working with families." So
So when it comes to working with families and this new mindset that people need to have, what are some of the first objections, or what are some of the things that you've got to help people understand about what you do and how you can help them?
about what I do and how I can help them, I think the first thing that they need to understand is that they have value. I don't think the first thing they need to understand has anything to do with me at all. I think they need to understand that this is a reality and can be a reality for anybody. With how I help them, so we've built an 8-figure personal brand from home. Just kind of, we're just living in service every day. That's like literally what we do. And so, in the how I help them of it all, I do everything. If I can't do it for them, I hold their hand and I do it with them because I know the mental gymnastics that need to happen whenever you're approaching this sort of like life, because it's not the normal life for most people. You're going to have a lot of pushback from some very well-meaning family members probably
Yeah,
that
yeah,
will be like, I don't know why you're doing that. That's not going to work. It hasn't worked before and blah, blah, blah. Right. Um, and it's probably true. It probably hasn't worked before. It probably hasn't, but that's because you didn't have a system and a process and somebody who's actually done it before and is still doing it today. And so like I guess that's would be what sets me apart.
Well, and so when they come to you and they say, we want a lifestyle similar to yours, we don't want to be part of the corporate grind. We want to, have this flexibility.
Yeah.
What are some of the first things that you help them to achieve, or to, whether it's mindset, whether it's in systems, in whatever they're doing, that kind of
Yeah.
sets them onto that path of getting to that point?
Yeah. The very first thing that I do with people is I help them determine what their bat signal is. I call it bat signal.
Oh,
Um,
look at
oh, look at
that.
you. Oh, you didn't even know, did
I
you?
didn't even
Um,
know we were going there, and I wore my Batman t-shirt. Usually it's a Superman t-shirt.
oh my gosh, that's amazing. How fun is that?
That's
Um,
awesome.
So bat signal to me is, people in the marketing world would call it buyer persona or customer avatar or whatever. Um, the reason I call it bat signal is because I'm working with families. We need to call it something different or else they're going to gloss over.
Yeah.
But the reason I actually call it bat signal is because when you know who your person is that you're here to serve. I tell them to make a timeline for themselves, put on the timeline all of the different times that they, felt like their back was against the wall or that they were Googling something until 2 or 4 in the morning. That thing that they had to learn a lot about in order to be able to get through it. A lot of times people don't value that stuff in their life. But in reality, gosh, if you did that much research on something, don't you think that's worth something? Don't you think somebody
Yeah.
else could benefit from all that research that you already did? And so, I help them determine which version of themselves is who they're going to serve. And then when they know who they're going to serve, they know what that person wants. And there's some different tools that I give them that help them define what these things are. But the reason it's called bat signal is because when you know who your person is, you know how to speak their language because they were you, but then you put that out, that language, that messaging, that exactly what they're looking for out into the world. All of those same yous, all of those same people, which typically are a lot. People like don't believe this, but there's a lot of people going through the same stuff that you went through. And they see your
Yeah.
messaging and they're like, oh my goodness. And they start running to you because they realize that you're their person. And when they realize you're their person, there's literally a cognitive dissonance that happens if they want to work with anybody else that does the same thing that you do. You know what I'm saying? Like my students call my world the multiverse, which is wild. But they would never work with anybody else that does what I do because like we have a relationship. They know we're the same, you know? And so that's how your bat signal works is you bring your people to you and then you take really good care of them. So that's the first thing that we work on together is your bat signal. And the rest of it's easy after bat signal. So
So after they've got their bat signal, they're finally kind of getting themselves aligned, got a little more clarity in what they're doing.
hmm
Obviously, you've got a variety of people with different level of experiences coming to you that are needing help, needing further clarity. You said systems are a big part of that. What is the next thing after the bat signal that they need to get clarity on that to help them get to that point where they're at a better place as a business?
yeah. What I do next after that is we go over their content pillars. So once we know who their person is and we have deep psychographics on who their person is, like all the fears, the hopes, the dreams, the things they failed before, all of it. Once we have all of that, then we can create the content pillars around that of exactly because remember I'm SEO raised, right?
Yeah,
So we
yeah.
can create the content pillars or we can create the content around all of the things that the people are searching for in the different stages of awareness, right? So we don't just hit a topical thing of like, I think they would want this. It's like, no, there's in there, if they first started realizing they have a problem that you solve, what are the things they need there? And then as they go through the stages of awareness, we're creating content on all of those different things and so they're able to move through these different it's less of a line and more of like a web of
Mm.
these different pieces of content and they can move into and out of different products and memberships and like all that's where all of the different income streams kind of play together is like I said, they're not linear at all. It's just like they kind of jump in where they make sense. But yeah, it's the next step. Answer your question. That was a long answer. The
No, that's a great answer.
next step was the content, right? The content of it all.
Now, you've talked about working from your couch and you help others that want to get that freedom and be able to have a little more flexibility and freedom in what they do. For those that are listening, share like the kinds of people that you help, because I want people to understand who this could be for, and they might be thinking, oh well, that's Martha, she's got all this experience, she can do this, but
Yeah.
maybe I can't. So share some stories of people that you've helped, and maybe even the range of the types of people you've helped that can
Mm.
get this kind of freedom.
Yeah. I love this question. I love it. Most recently, not too long ago, I actually got a message from a grandmother. Well, she wasn't a grandmother before she jumped into my stuff. She was in my stuff for about 6 months and then she became a grandmother. But before she jumped into or when she jumped into my stuff, she knew not a lick about marketing, nothing, right? Didn't know what a lead magnet was, didn't know what any of this stuff was, right? That for us is just very like everyday kind of lingo or terminology. But
Right.
she didn't know anything about it at all, didn't know anything about business, um, just none of it. Within 6 months, she has got enough clients. This is wild. She's got enough clients that she is able to um babysit. I have to say this right. She is able to babysit her granddaughter for her daughter that was just born. So like she's
Wow.
able to stay home. She was able to quit her job, stay home, and now she gets to stay home with the baby. And that's all within 6 months. And that's her not knowing anything, right? Um, and that's because uh she chose to do it.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think unfortunately you if you don't have the confidence to do something then you could have all the knowledge in the world and it doesn't matter.
Right.
Confidence beats knowledge any day of the week.
Right.
And so that's where you see people with all of these courses just getting dusty in their hard drive, right? And they buy the courses because they want the result of what the sales page said to them. They want that result, but ultimately they won't start the course because it's a sustainability thing. It's a, if I'm not confident enough that I can do this, then essentially I'm wasting my time right now. That's kind of
Yeah.
how it goes. And so it's the confidence of it all. So another first thing that I work with people is their mindset and their confidence, and letting them know that like this isn't like everything else that you've done. So aside from that, I have a lot of grandmothers. I have a lot of grandmothers. I have a lot of moms. I have a lot of moms. I had one mom, this has been a couple of years ago now, but within 3 months, she was making, I don't know, like 16K a month, which isn't bad. And uh, the most impressive thing, or the most important part of that, wasn't that she was making 16K, go get your Ferrari and sit on the front, it wasn't like that. But it was that her daughter had a life-threatening illness, and she's in Canada, and her daughter now had to have this medication that insurance wasn't covering anymore, that cost $10,000 a month. And so
Wow.
she had to
Wow.
have that, but now she was making the money and she could
Yeah.
actually do that. And so it's not even, I think we look at money and we get so just like, yeah, it'd be cool to have 25K or whatever. Like it's life changing on other levels too. Um,
Right.
and
Right.
and so yeah, that's, I've worked with all sorts of people though. I've worked with, you know, um, seasoned coaches, and I work with huge corporations. Like they've had me come in. I don't do it anymore because I want my full focus on families. But I've worked with huge corporations before in their marketing departments, just helping them, kind of see and understand different things. But yeah, I kind of work with everybody.
That's awesome. Yeah. So in helping these ladies and helping families, is it the teaching for them to do digital marketing, or how exactly are they making the money and getting the freedom that they are getting?
Yeah. So digital marketing is most of it. It's all from the anchor of personal brand. What I like for them to make money off of first and foremost is affiliate marketing. I like for them to be able to make money off of other people's products, so they're not actually creating anything to begin with. It allows them to kind of have a little soft R&D, just to understand what their people are responding to, what they're wanting, and then to be able to kind of move down that path. It's just proof. And so
Right. Right.
and they still get to make money, while they're doing it. They're still serving, they're still helping, but it'd be affiliate marketing stuff. And so that's the very first step. And then we move into, yeah, like info products, the different things that they've gone through, that they've learned, that would help somebody else. um, I know somebody recently said, well, with the onset of AI, aren't like info products, aren't those kind of going away? I think for a lot of people, they probably won't be as successful as they used to be, because a lot of the info products out there were really kind of just Googleable stuff anyway, packaged
Yeah.
up. And so that won't work as well anymore. That's true. Now, remember when I said there's knowledge and there's confidence? If it's something that you're teaching somebody that also needs to have the coaching edge, the coaching side of, if somebody needs to feel confident in order to get the result that they're looking for, they need the human that's done that. And
Yeah.
that's not going to change. AI isn't going to change that. So
So you talked about building a personal brand. Is that where you recommend people start from, and then from there you talk about the affiliate marketing, which is
mhm.
finding other people's products and using your personal brand to sell those products, and then you of course get kickback for it, but it's usually associated with what your personal brand is about, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Do I have that correct? And
Yes, you do.
with building a personal brand, where does that start? A lot of people branding is such a hot topic. Everybody talks
Yeah.
about branding, and we've seen branding on corporate level, and we can even talk about some stuff that's happened lately with MS Now and Cracker Barrel and things like that.
Right.
But when it comes to a personal brand, where do you start with building a personal brand, especially for these people that are wanting to, they're wanting to be with their families, they're wanting freedom, they're not wanting to be the next whoever is the most famous at this moment person. What does that look like, building a personal brand?
Yeah. So a personal brand, I don't put a lot of grandeur on personal brand, honestly. It's very lifestyle brand. It's like, what do you love? What is your aesthetic? What do what are the things that you enjoy? So my daughter is very girly and frilly. That would be her aesthetic, right? If we're talking about visual branding, that would be hers. And so it's not about most businesses, your branding is going to have to do with what your consumers are looking for, right? What they want, how they're going to feel. A personal brand is more about who you are.
Right.
And so your lifestyle and what matters to you, and what, like my colors are very like, people see my brand, my visual brand, and my colors, and they're like, I never would have thought to put that together. And I'm like, exactly. Like, that's the I
Yeah.
it's because in my brand, I feel like I'm an unexpected package too, right? Like, I love messy hair. I love wearing like sweatpants or yoga pants to a chamber of commerce event. Like, I love being so understated that it's a surprise almost that I know anything at all. So like, and so when you put like these random colors together, but then you're like, wow, but it looks so good. It's like, yeah, it's kind of the idea. It's kind of what I love. Um,
Yeah.
and so that personal brand is more about you than it is about other people. And I think that's the twist in sort of the branding realm, the visual branding realm.
So they build this personal brand about who they are, their authentic self, and just kind of being out there. And so you've mentioned multiple streams of income. What are some other ways that you work with people to, to get that? And I keep using the word freedom, because in a lot of ways it is a freedom when you're not
Yeah.
tied into something that you're not enjoying. So talk about why is multiple streams of income so necessary these days?
Oh my word. Because any one stream is stressful. It used to be, and it certainly is more stressful these days because we've seen the rug pulled out from under us many times. I mean, even if, say, people are in network marketing or something, they put all their eggs in that basket and then the company closes down, you know
Yeah.
like, what I mean, it's like that. So I prefer that my families, I feel like real safety, real security today comes through a personal brand, and it comes through many eggs in many baskets. And they're all built around your personal brand, but it's you at the helm of all of it. And so if any company closes or anything, it doesn't matter. Who gives a rip? Like, whenever COVID happened, um that's we it did not affect us. And I don't say that to be like peacocking or whatever, but we did really well, and we actually moved down to Florida and did, like, our we got our comeuppance, another set of comeuppance with that, with that actually happening. And so the world economy or the national economy or whatever is happening on the news, it doesn't affect what is happening within your own family's economy. I think that's what I'm trying to say. And so that's why multiple streams are so important, is because if it's any one stream or even two, that's anxiety inducing, in my opinion, because you're putting a lot of hope in
Yeah.
somebody else's boardroom table, So
Right, right. So we talked about affiliate programs. We talked about info products. What are some other ways that a man or a woman that wants to have that lifestyle? What are some other streams of income that you have seen work successfully with some of your students?
Yeah. So it's the info stuff and the memberships. Memberships always do really well. I like to show them how to be able to actually make money off of the platforms. I love for the platforms to pay us. So for Facebook to pay us, Instagram to pay us, YouTube to pay us, that's a great way to create income. Um, Aside from that, there's books, Shopify stores. We're getting ready to
Really?
my daughter and I are getting ready to launch a new skincare brand pretty soon, which really is going to be Nora's thing. Keep in mind, my daughter is 10. Okay. But
Wow.
she loves skincare. And I'm like, and I know that she's not going to want to take over my business. She's already told me she's 10 and she's sure of it. And I don't want to push her to, I don't care. And so, uh, she loves skincare. And I'm like, all right, baby, well, then let's go ahead and let's do this. And so she gets to dip a toe in business and marketing and, do get ready with me's in the morning and that sort of thing. And talking about her skincare brand. I was like, the deal breakers are that, it can't be toxic and it's got to be safe and it's got to actually work and it's got to work for mommy and it's got to work for the little girls. And I said, so if we can get through those filters, then let's go ahead and create something. And so we did it. We made it happen, and it's opening in the next couple of weeks. But that is going to be like her thing. So there's also the Shopify stores and things like that. So there's just so many things that once you get really entrenched in who you're serving, there's so many different ways to serve them. And when you've already built loyalty with your audience and you've taken good care of them, you become, and this is the coolest part, I think, you become kind of like what I think we need to go back to anyway, which is more of a tribal nature. And I
Hmm.
think we become,
Okay.
even though we're online, we become sort of these online tribes. I think that we as people really have a deep need to connect and to give
Right.
back and to sort of have this community, and and that's what it allows us for. So
Yeah, and with the Shopify store, and I want to talk about the tribes as well, and I think that's pretty powerful there. With the Shopify store, is this products that you are creating, or are you selling other people's products?
no, it's going to be it's not drop ship. Somebody else is creating them in their warehouse, but they're sending them out for us, right? So like
Right.
that's kind of how it goes. Yeah.
Okay. So it's kind of a fulfillment type thing where
Yes.
you funnel the orders to them, then they fulfill it for you under your brand.
Right. We're not doing it
Right.
out of our house. Yeah.
Right.
No. Oh my word.
So
Yeah. I can't even
that
imagine.
would be torture in itself. And so talk about the tribes. I love what you said about the tribes because I think you're absolutely right. We're always looking for our people, and sometimes it's a bigger group of people, sometimes it's a smaller group of people, but we're always looking for people that are like us, think like us, or we can fit into. So talk about that when it comes to what you're doing and how you're helping people and why that matters.
Yeah. So whenever we determine bat signal, that's you know who your people are at that point. You're deciding who your people are, really. And because one of the questions that I have people go through as they're determining their bat signal is this a person that you want to wake up every morning in the trenches with? Like, would it feel good to you to make sure that like you're always thinking about helping them become better and that sort of thing? And so whenever you approach community like that, those people can sense it, right? They can
Yeah.
sense that you're
Yeah.
here to actually help them rather than like just sell them something. And so whenever they sense that, they can come in, but they don't just come in and tire kick. They come in and they let their guard down. Not immediately, of course, because that's not natural, but very quickly, more quickly than anything else. And so they let their guard down and they allow themselves to be seen and heard. And that's where you're creating these communities. And those communities can exist like in a you to them in like newsletters and that sort of thing. They're best, in my opinion, and this we're going to get a universal eye roll here in a second, but they're best, in my opinion, in Facebook. I think Facebook groups are the best place for it. Um, because it's the behavior, it's a natural behavior of people already. And then they're able to go in there and communicate with each other and build relationships with each other. And that's where it's kind of like you're the thrower of the party, right? But then they come in and they're like mingling with each other and they're
Right,
there like
right,
whatever you're talking about. And that's the theme of the party. But like they all get to, build community with each other and everything as well, which is what creates, that's what, like I said, my students created the name Marthaverse. It wasn't me, but that's their like that they have called it something themselves because they wanted to define this thing that they're in. And so like
right,
it's
right.
just it's proof. It's proof that people need this, right? I need it. I need my people.
Right, right. Well, and people do that often. I've seen it online with, if you follow a particular personality, you have a name for who you are. If you're a
Yeah.
ClickFunnels, you're a funnel hacker. You're a hacker, whatever. I mean Christians, because they follow Christ, right? And
Yeah.
so I think we like to create an identity for ourselves with the people that we align with.
Yeah.
That way we have a name, and once we have a name, once we have an identity, and I think it was Craig Rochelle that said, once you know who you are, you know what you do. And
Yeah.
having that identity lets us know, people like me behave this way, and people under this banner, under this name, do these kind of things. So I
Yeah.
absolutely love that. So when you're talking about, and you talked about where you were with GoDaddy, how that was, you ended up realizing that's not what you wanted, but then you ended up in Disney World and you were working while in Disney World, right? And now you're talking about starting a multiple stream of income business. Talk about the work life balance of mothers, and why they need to think about that, and why in some ways it's a myth, and what actually works.
Yeah. Um I don't I in the work that I do and with what I help people do, it really only takes them about five, now with AI, like 5-ish hours a week. It just doesn't take that long to do the things that they need to do to keep their stuff going, right? The stuff that does take some time, and I'll talk about like the actual work-life balance of it all. But the stuff that actually does take time is honestly, it's the community building. It's the messaging, it's the commenting, it's the making sure that people feel seen, heard, understood. It's not the content creation or anything like that. It's the building of the community. And so you will see um, when somebody is actually building community, their success is imminent. It's going to happen. If they're trying to cut corners and just create content, it's not gonna it won't go the same, um because that's the community is the gasoline on the fire. That is it. It's how they feel, it's how they feel about it. Now for the work life balance of it all, I have people that will set little timers. Like I have some people that still work their jobs because they like it. Like they're engineers and they're just nerds and they love working their jobs, but they will set little alarms, right? And they'll take little 5-minute pockets here and there and do something for 5 minutes here, something for 5 minutes here, something for, and so they kind of just weave it through their day with alarms. Uh, I always think that people should have alarms on the time that they spend doing stuff because it's very easy to just get eaten up inside the internet and
Yeah.
and to just be like, where did the last 3 hours go? Like it can happen. It can happen. And so I think we really should work with alarms just to know, like it's okay to still be working. Do you know what time it is? And
Right,
then
right,
set
right.
another one for an hour after that. But um I've got moms that work during nap time. Whenever their kids are sleeping, that's when they work. um I have other moms that they'll work while their kids are at school. If they're not homeschooling, they'll work while their kids are at school. And then whenever their kids come home, everything gets put away. And the next day it gets brought back out after they go to school. It's just, everybody's different. Everybody's comfort level is different, but also everybody's different when it comes to what are you wanting to model too. So like for me, Nora sees me work. She sees me work. We homeschooled for 2 years, so we spent every waking moment together, which I love.
Yeah.
Um, so she's seen me work a lot, and so when I say like it's up to us, like kind of what we want to model, we've modeled to Nora, or I've modeled to Nora what it looks like to work from home, what it looks like to do this and to accomplish all of this stuff and to, still be a very normal person. But to, wake up and watch The Price is Right. There's a channel with The Price is Right, the old Bob Barker ones. It's all
Oh,
Price is
wow.
Right all day. It's crazy. Anyway, we
Oh,
watch that
wow.
in the morning. Just old episodes of Price is Right. And so I just snuggle with her in the morning. She knows what it's like just to watch that for a little while, and then mommy goes off and does some work and then comes back and whatever. It's up to you as to what you want to model to your kids. I think when we look at and then I'll be done saying this, but when we look at the creator economy, which is what every kid wants to be in, they all want to be YouTubers, and that would be in the creator
Right.
economy, right? Um, it right now is around, gosh, I think it's like 250 billion as an industry category. Like that's how much money is in that category. Do you know that by
Wow.
2027, it's going to be 480 billion? It's almost doubling in two
Wow.
years. And those stats are from Goldman Sachs. So that's not just funny, like, oh, great stat, Martha. No, like that's actually from Goldman Sachs. So
Yeah.
if we know that the creator economy is going that direction, I don't think it's so crazy for your kid to say they want to be a YouTuber. I think what actually makes more sense is saying, cool, what do you want to do on YouTube? What are the
Yeah.
things? What do you want? What do you want? What do you want to do? Because the careers will be there. It's just, will your kid know how to do it?
Right. Right. Wow, that is so good. Well, and YouTuber just has such a negative connotation to it, but it is a
Yeah,
legit business model for a lot of people,
it
young and
is.
old, they're doing really, really well
Yeah.
in it. And a lot of people will go to YouTube for their entertainment. Will go for their learning, will go for growth, will go for spiritual stuff. Or I mean, it is an incredible avenue. And so saying you're a YouTuber, maybe there needs to be another phrase for it because it's so negative. But we've talked about some tech tools, and I want to talk about the idea of creating both time and freedom using some of these tech tools, using some of these digital tools. Because some people, you've mentioned some grandmas that are doing some of the stuff that you're teaching.
Yeah.
But what about for the person that isn't techie? Is what are their opportunities out there?
Yeah. I think the cool thing that we have these days is that a lot of the tech tools really aren't even difficult to use anymore. They're super intuitive, and most things are no code. When you use the word no code, that pretty much means you could type in what you want to occur on the page
Right,
and it
right.
happens. So like there's so many no code tools, and then we've got this thing nowadays called vibe coding, right? And so like that's just pretty much AI writing code for you and you just using it. So like whenever we have people that, haven't used tech tools or don't really know how to use tech tools, I think the biggest mm, I don't know, the biggest barrier to entry there is really in their own mind of saying, well, I haven't done this before. Okay, that's cool. Nobody's done something until they've done it, right? Even the 13-year-old
Right.
that's about to try something new, they didn't do it before they tried it. So like what makes you any different? So other than your belief that you can't. So like
Yeah.
that's really what it's about is just replacing that belief with or disbelief, excuse me. I said it wrong twice. Replacing that disbelief with with actually just a curiosity.
Yeah.
I wonder how this works. I wonder how kids are getting this to work right now. You know, like it's that instead of thinking, oh, those youngsters, they know so much more than me. No, they're just curious. They're curious and they
Right.
don't have any
Right.
limits. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That is so good. And so I can't believe it's already been an hour. This has been an
Oh,
amazing conversation. You worked in the service industry, you worked for big corporate, and I kind of brought it up earlier. Cracker Barrel has gone through some changes. And so I want to get your thoughts on that because you come from a unique perspective because you've worked both in the service industry, you've worked for big corporate, you've worked with brands, you've worked with personal brands as well as bigger brands. So tell me, what are your thoughts on what's happening there? Did they hit the mark? Did they miss the mark? Where do you sit on that?
I shed a tear today as I drove past because I had seen the graphics online. And you know when you see something online and you're like, you can't believe everything you see on the internet. And I'm like, maybe it's a hoax, right? Because I'm
Yeah.
hoping it's a hoax. And then I drive past our Cracker Barrel, and
Oh,
then there's the
no.
sign with the new logo. And I think they've totally missed the mark. But what they're doing, like, it's personal. It's like they're they're messing with our childhood. They're messing
Yeah.
with the place I used to go and eat breakfast with my grandparents at. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
they're messing with strong nostalgia. And that is
Yeah.
like, what are you trying to go out of business? And then I heard that they're doing other things as well beyond that. So a friend of mine, Mark Shalinsky, said that they're also doing like they're not playing. Oops, wow, what are we doing here? They're it's that messy hair thing. That they're also not playing like they used to play, Christian music in there, like some Christians, not all of it, but some. They're not playing any of that anymore. They're just they're serving beer now where they didn't serve beer before, and it's just like, what are you doing? What is this? Because
Yeah.
it's not even just the visual brand that's changing, it's the model. Like it's the whole you're changing the whole thing. Like
Right.
what are your opinions on that?
Yeah, I think, I'm a branding guy and visual
Yeah.
branding has been my bread and butter for a long time. So visually, I think they've missed the mark because they had a lot of equity in the brand mark, and
Mm,
I can understand without understanding the full strategy, it's kind of hard to critique it. So it's very subjective, but,
sure.
I wonder if the change of the logo was for it to be more easily to read from the freeway. But the problem is, with that strategy is nobody ever had a problem spotting a Cracker Barrel. It was so iconic. It was
Right.
so iconic. It had so much equity in the brand. So if the strategy of some consultant was, well, you can't read it from the freeway. We want it to be easier to read from the freeway. So we're going to put it in this badge, and then we're going to make it really small within that badge and give it a lot of white space around it and make it bright yellow and black instead of the yellow and the brown so you can read it from the freeway. It's like, but nobody ever had a problem spotting a Cracker Barrel. Like that's and so if that was the strategy, I think they missed it there. I've seen that they're trying to change the insides as well, and they're sterilizing it more. So they're taking a lot of that eating in a barn type vibe out, and they're sterilizing it a little more and making it not as themey, with a little bit of the theme, but kind of taking a lot of that out. And I think they're kind of becoming generic. It's this idea of let's try and please everybody, and therefore we are generic like every other place that they could eat. And so I think a lot of themed restaurants are kind of losing out when they are not leaning into the theme as strong. I think Outback suffers from this. Outback restaurants used to be super Australian themed and everything. Now you go in and it's like, this is like any other restaurant I've ever been to.
Yeah.
And I think Cracker Barrel are kind of headed in that direction too, is that they're becoming generic and taking away the things that made it special. And
Yeah.
now they don't have they're not going to have the differentiation that they once did. And people are going to be like, well, if that's the case, I have a Denny's, I have an IHOP, I have a, whatever. And
Exactly.
why should I go there if it's no different from any other place? And it comes down to, other factors.
Yeah. I took a friend of mine there. It must have been a couple months ago, and I hadn't been there in a while, and it hadn't switched themes or anything like that. It was still what it was at that point. And I remember as her and I were eating there, I was like, I just love this place. It just feels like home. That's
Yeah.
literally what I said to her. And so if we're sterilizing it and we're going to make it something different, it's not going to feel like that. And I wouldn't have gone to it for any other reason. I
Yeah.
go for nostalgia. I go to feel like what I felt like whenever I was having breakfast with my grandparents. It's a feeling, right? Like
Yeah. Yeah.
it's you want that. And yeah, if they kill it, a friend of mine said it looks, now they look like Golden Corral. And I'm like, ooh, you ain't wrong. You ain't wrong. Yeah.
Yes.
So,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. Then it's not like they're on every street corner, and so it is a destination. And if everything that's made them different is no longer there, then will people actually drive there, or will they drive to the nearest Denny's or IHOP or pancake, place, or whatever? And so I think they're going to hurt themselves. And whatever the strategy was behind it, whatever the motivation was behind it, there wasn't enough pushback to say, is this the thing that needs to change? Are we changing the right things?
yeah,
And maybe somebody didn't push back on that, or if they did, they didn't have a strong enough authority in the space. But it is, are we changing the right things? If we're suffering, are we changing the right things? Or is
yeah,
there something else we should have changed that actually would have had a bigger impact?
yes. I agree with you 100%. Yeah.
So
Um,
usually I like to end these conversations with asking my guests if there's a question that you wish I'd asked you, or a head smack that you wanted to share. What would that question be?
oh, wow. Um, I think maybe it would be what do you see happening? Like, what are you excited about in the next year? That's what there would be that. Should I answer it?
And
Yeah.
yes, go ahead. What are you excited about?
Should I ask it and then answer it? Um, I'm excited about we're working with 500 families. It's called Invincible Families Project. I've cleared my entire calendar and I'm working with 500 families next year to get them set up exactly like we're set up. And what I'm excited about is the end of the year, I live near Orlando. All 500 families are going to converge here at the end of next year for our finale. Um,
Wow.
and I'll get to see all of these families after they've moved into this role of freedom, like of this just new life that they didn't even believe was possible after we've gone through the tears and the challenges and the oh my
Right,
goodness of
right.
it all. And and then it starts working, and then that's exciting. And it's just identity shifts and all of the stuff. So I'm just really excited about that, and we're documenting it. So we're actually creating a docu series out of it as well. So like all of that is the most exciting. It feels like a pinnacle of my life. It feels
Yeah.
like the whenever I quit GoDaddy, it feels like it was all for this. And
Wow.
I'm just really excited for that. So
That is so awesome. That is so awesome.
yeah.
I love that. And obviously you create a lot of content. You have that YouTube award behind you. What is, if somebody wants to find you on YouTube, what kind of content got you that award, and how do they find you?
Yeah. It's I just teach little snippets of all of the different things, right? So I've got like some mindset stuff on there, but then I also have like I'm a very systems and tactically based person. So it's all around personal brand, the who's it's, the what's it's, the how, all of that. Yeah, site is the YouTube channel is just Martha Krejci. So you would just look up my first and last name, and site is withmartha.com, and that's kind of the hub for all the things. So that's it.
That's awesome. And you also have a book, The Home-Based Revolution. Talk about that for a
Yes.
second, and how do they get a hold of that?
Yeah. Uh that is on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, all of the like it's kind of I think you can get it anywhere that you get books. That that was my very first book, and I love it. That I go through all of the different things that need to happen. So as we were talking about like organic content strategy and things like that, and how to be able to really build this personal brand, that book walks you through all of it as well. The idea is that if you get that book, you should have a good understanding of the lay of the land so you can determine if you actually want to step foot in that land. So
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, I'll have a lot of the links that you've shared and that you've sent me in the show notes as well. Check out the Avatar Analyzer. I'll have that link where it's just igwithmartha.com/avatar. I'll put your social links as well on there so people can get a hold of you and find that freedom that they need and get beyond the bind that they might feel themselves in. Martha, this has been an amazing conversation. Thank you so much for this.
thank you. I appreciate this. This has been a blast. This has been one of the best podcasts I've been on. So thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. Have a great day. Take care.
You too.
You are listening to Conversations with Misfits, Mavericks, and Trailblazers.